Las Vegas is a city built on spectacle, a place where fortunes rise overnight and reputations vanish just as quickly. Yet from the middle of that shifting desert mythology, Rick Harrison built something that endured. For more than 15 years, Pawn Stars transformed a modest pawn shop into a global landmark. At the center stood Rick Harrison, a self-educated historian with a sharp eye and an even sharper instinct for value. He built his reputation on a simple principle: everything has a price, and nothing is worth what you think it is. But life eventually handed him losses no one could measure from behind a counter. Born Richard Kevin Harrison on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina, Rick Harrison grew up as the son of a U.S. Navy veteran. His family eventually settled in Las Vegas, where his life would take shape. As a child battling epilepsy, he spent long periods at home reading history books. Knowledge became both refuge and weapon. In 1989, he and his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, opened the gold and silver pawn shop. It began as a 300-square-foot coin store. No spectacle, no cameras, just two men who understood that knowledge compounds like interest. That philosophy became the foundation of Pawn Stars, which premiered in 2009 on the History Channel. The show was not built on shouting matches or scripted chaos. It was built on curiosity. Viewers tuned in to watch history unfold through objects brought in by strangers: Civil War rifles, rare coins, signed baseballs. For over 700 episodes, Rick Harrison stood at the center as historian, skeptic, and negotiator. Audiences didn't just watch deals. They watched competence. They watched someone who had mastered his craft. But behind the scenes, life began testing him in ways business never could. In June 2018, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known to fans as the Old Man, passed away. His steady presence had anchored both the shop and the show. His empty chair became a symbol of the first major fracture in the family's public story. The most devastating blow came on January 19, 2024. Adam Harrison, Rick's son, died at 39 years old from fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. Adam had chosen a private life away from cameras and fame. He had struggled with addiction for years, cycling through rehab and recovery attempts. His death was ruled accidental, but no clinical term could capture the years of hope and heartbreak that preceded it. Speaking later on in depth with Graham Bensinger, Rick Harrison admitted he thinks about his son every day. For a man known for certainty, that vulnerability was striking. Then, in November 2025, another loss arrived. Joan Harrison, Rick's mother, died at 85 in Las Vegas. She had witnessed everything: the early struggles, the 1989 opening of the shop, the explosive debut of Pawn Stars in 2009, and the grief of losing both her husband and grandson. With her passing, Rick lost the last living link to his childhood, the final person who knew him before fame reshaped his identity. Amid grief, life continued moving. In March 2025, Rick proposed to Angie Polushkin at a vineyard in Casablanca, Chile. They married on January 3, 2026, at the Little White Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas, an unapologetically local celebration. It was his fourth marriage, and public reaction was mixed. But Rick addressed it plainly: he believed in moving forward. Through it all, the gold and silver pawn shop still opens its doors each morning. Pawn Stars continues in a new form. The lights still hum over display cases. Tourists still line up outside. But the man behind the counter now carries an invisible inventory. Grief layered over decades of expertise. He once told customers that the market determines value. Yet some losses exist beyond any market correction. Still, Rick Harrison remains, reading, negotiating, studying history, and moving forward. Because in the end, endurance may be the rarest item he has ever possessed.